I feel like going into 2024, you know, one of the big, because I still really like the big pants arc because I have big pants. I have multiple big pants now. I feel like the era of like left infighting has to be kind of, it has to be kind of over, right? Because first of all, in terms of like left-leaning live streamers, there really aren't that many that are large enough to be relevant. And the woke scolds are all largely irrelevant at this point. The only time in the past year that I've had any real issues with people on the left being psychotic has been like the Blitler types, you know? And I guess that might continue being an issue. I wish I could project a bigger tent. I feel like absent all like of the past drama and baggage, this should be a very big tent channel, right? Like theoretically it should be. In terms of like marketability and demographics, it's not as though I'm, you know, I present myself in a way that is super exclusionary. I mean, you have to be able to hear the word hard, but let's be real. Outside of a very select community online, most people are fine with this, or at the very least acceptable. You know, it's fine. Apart from that, I mean, I feel like I can capture liberals pretty well and hopefully rid them of their, you know, perverse and degenerate delusions about human nature and ideal economic organization. And, you know, with regards to like the lefty types, I can't bring in the tankies because they're off in their own shit. Yeah, I suppose, Linkard. Does this mean friendly convos? No, friendly convos are dog shit. They do nothing. Oh, though we are talking to Ryan Grimm in a few days. So that'll be fun. Then I'm confused. Having friendly conversations with other figures very rarely actually. Okay, this is something to consider in like the action economy of left content creation or just content creation in general. Having other people on my stream does nothing for me viewer-wise unless they are colossally big. Me going on their content does. I can easily get people to come on my stream because I'm big. But other people are worried about my reputation when it comes to bringing me on their stuff. Right now, the only active invites that I get for going on other people's shows is right-wing grift networks who want to fly me out to some, like, live IRL debate that will do nothing for my metrics and do nothing but legitimize their shitty, like, you know, neo-fascist content mill delivery machine. I get a lot of that. Every like dipshit fascist knows that the best way for them to grow at the moment, because YouTube is kind of like a mugs game right now in terms of entryism into the political market, is to like do their own like IRL podcast, which is why every right-wing channel does this. Seriously, every single right-wing YouTube channel or podcast or whatever has their own goddamn like IRL things set up or whatever. And the reason they do that is because it benefits them. It's to their benefit to do that. I feel like the last time it was truly, genuinely beneficial to do stuff like that from the opposition's perspective, from our perspective, was Joe Rogan back before he became a partisan hack. Because you used to be able to pull a lot of people off that. But do you think the average viewer of like Tim Pool's streams at this point is really going to be pulled over to a left-leaning channel because I went over there and said like trans rights or whatever? Nope. The environment is way too polarized, which means in terms of like actually pulling audience members, the most likely direction to go is to appear on liberal programs. You know, but liberals have their own issues with me and issues in general. They're a sick people. They're not well. Is my point. We got a few when you debated Charlie Kirk. Yeah, but that was with Charlie Kirk. It's a big figure. Charlie Kirk and Tim Pool. You know, we got a duo there. Also, even then, the first appearance on Tim Pool actually got me a lot more attention than the second one in terms of like audience growth, which is weird because the first time I went on Tim Pool, I did worse and looked worse, and it was a lower profile conversation. But I think the reason for that is because the first convo that I had with Tim Pool was back when he was still pretending to be a center-leaning liberal. Whereas by the time Charlie Kirk came on, he had much more clearly shifted into the right-wing populist stuff, meaning that his audience was more galvanized and less likely to be pulled over. Yeah, in terms of like direct engagement, pulling people off like the right-wing audiences is not a reliable method. Why have you never done any content with your roommates? It's my stream. You know, I like having control over my stream. When you start letting friends get involved in your content directly like that, it's a slippery slope. I have trouble saying no to my friends, honestly. I just like them too much, you know? So what if, you know, my beloved, dear friends and housemates came on and they had like a somewhat bad idea and I'm like, oh, you know, and then it's like, well, here's a bad idea. There is some stuff I had to say no to, though. It's one of the reasons I've never had my like IRL friends who aren't streamers do content on stream, because holy shit, you have any idea how much like culpability there is on my end for stuff like that? Like how much responsibility I assume for their behavior and my audience's behavior to them. So much of a bother. Same issue with my family, right? Huge issue. How likely would it be that those aforementioned IRL friends send something out of pocket? Okay, no. So here are the issues. First of all, if they say something out of pocket, that's one thing. If they say something mildly problematic, now look, problematic jokes in private and in public are two different things, okay? There's a lot of like tolerance that I can accept with my friends. My friends are all like queer homos, right? If they make some like queerphobic joke, I know the bit. A lot of people in my audience won't, which means that then it's like, okay, do I have to challenge them on that or get them to explain it? Or is there like, they don't have like media training. You know, the God's honest truth that a lot of people don't realize when they're watching a stream is that doing multiple hours of political content live online with no script, 99% of you would fuck up massively if you were given this reach and this audience. There's a reason why basically every content creator has embarrassing startup stuff they want you to forget about. Like all of them do, unless they got into the game after getting their media training. And the reason for that is because it takes legitimately a skill set in order to do this. And even then you make mistakes. So imagine that, except it's my friends. So if they fuck up, not only do I have to deal with that from my audience's side of things, but I also have to deal with the blowback they would get. And they do, by the way. They would. Not worth the bother. One of the reasons why I prefer to have people on stream when I don't like them, because if I don't like them, I don't have to worry about any of this shit. They say something bad, I can challenge it directly without having to worry about its impact in our relationship. Did you get media training? Not formally, no. The Vaush court is saying you wouldn't even bother to debate liberals. I guess the interest that I've had in debating liberals has waned substantially, considering the fact that at the end of the day, I still have to shrug and go, yeah, I guess vote Joe Biden, you know? Because liberals deal mostly in electoralism, it feels like if the end position is going to be like an electoral agreement, it's like, okay, well then what? Yeah, I mean, there's still stuff worth debating, but like, dude, the idea of arguing with a liberal about like Israel-Palestine and accusing them of being a genocide enabler, and then at the end we're both like, haha, vote for Biden, like, fuck, Jesus. Like, at that point, why even have them on? Like, I'm right anyway. I can just talk about what's going on in Israel. I don't need it, like, framed through their, you know, it's... I mean, more interest in debating a conservative who's pro-Israel, you know, because in that case, you know, there's a meaningful disagreement there in terms of, like, electoral outcomes, at least. That was IRI 2 days ago. Yeah, but I don't want to debate IRI on this. Good debates were always the Vaush content I found the least engaging, no offense. Certainly, it's been less interesting to me over time as the realization has come in that basically everyone in the space does so performatively except for me. But, you know. So bringing on neocons? Who's a neocon online, honestly? We get too many trolls now? Well, that's the reason why we stopped doing call-in debates. You guys ruined it. Like, we used to do call-in debates all the time, and they were fun. But as I got more popular, more and more people just wanted to, like, spend time talking to me. And then twice now, we've tried to do call-in debates again. And both times, the first guy who came in was a troll who was just trying to, like, do a bit for attention. One of them, we only, learned they were a troll a little after the fact, which, like, in retrospect, made the whole thing feel very empty. So you guys have ruined it. There will never be call-in debates on this channel again. You know, your desperate attempt to get the opportunity to speak to me directly for a bit has killed that content. Seems like you're saying we're in an era where debates are just not effectual. Do you think they'll become effectual again at one point? Possibly, but yeah, I agree. I've said that for a while. I don't think that right now debates actually do that much in terms of pulling people over because the environment is so polarized that with the exception of some specific communities, it is really difficult to find communities online on the right who are willing to debate, but like capable of being swayed by debate. Incredibly difficult. You can tell this because people on the right are simultaneously very unwilling to debate at a like legitimate level, but all of the grubby little blood sports right-wing neo-Nazi channels are forming their own like IRL podcasts so that they can have the you know, the like clout of bringing you in and taking all the promo photos and stuff. It exists only as like KFOB, as a system for their own promotion. It's not like an actual fight, you know? You should do call-ins, let fans speak, just boot them when they become uninteresting. Once you blow the exclusivity, you'll have less trolls diluting the pool. The problem is that none of you are interested. I'm really sorry, guys. My tolerance for letting you guys talk to me on stream waned back when I had a fifth the subscribers that I do now. I don't have the heart to boot people for being boring, which you all are. I mean, you think you're not? Are you a big streamer? I've said, in fairness, like there's a reason why I'm the one who's streaming, right? Usually call-ins are like a nicety. It's like, oh, let's hear back from the community. But too many of you guys are trolls. It doesn't matter. Like, oh, the sincerity is dead too. Rude. No, it's legitimate consideration. You know, can you? It's like radio call-ins. I wonder how Sam Cedar does that. He has people screened, doesn't he? Sam Cedar screens people before they come in. I guess I could do a whole thing with the mod screening people, but I think I don't want to. He doesn't. I think the main difference with Sam Cedar is that he doesn't engage with or cultivate a parasocial relationship with anybody. He just does the radio talk thing. So if somebody calls in and they're like just waffling or whatever, then it's just like, oh, goodbye. There's not really, whereas like I'm nice to people when I talk to them. There's a different kind of relationship. He treats it like a radio show. So I think that allows him a bit more leeway in terms of how he treats people. But I know for a fact that if I had people on, I would immediately get some like weepy baby trans explaining to me how I saved their life. And listen, I'm glad to hear that. But man, when you get the third one of those in a single stream, yeah, you would agree with me if you could see what my emails looked like, okay? Because I get a lot. Oh my God, the emotional labor that you guys force on me by like, because it's one thing to say, you know, I appreciate your content and everything that you've done. I get life stories on the daily, you know, and I you know, I try to get back to people as best as I can, but like, holy shit. That's what I get for cultivating an audience of autistic people. You know, a lot of you have very little restraint when it comes to oversharing. Free therapy stream for the nth time. Yeah, no kidding. Dog died, cat died, car broke down, house foreclosed, fish died. Yeah, just create a vent channel in your Discord. I'm pretty sure there used to be one, and the problem is that vent channels on Discord just turn into people suicide posting. The problem is, honestly, it's not even that you guys are that suicidal. It's just that you guys have no emotional control and no IRL friends. So you have nobody to talk to except for like the community broadly, and it just turns into like this insufferable, like unmanageable. I think vent channels do more harm than good anyway, because if you're feeling suicidal, the last thing you want to do is to add your suicide post to like a line of 50 of them that won't get any engagement. Like, how is that going to improve your mood? Does it really help your mental state that much to vent? I think that in a lot of cases, the desire to vent is actually a deeply like self-destructive one, because the only people you should actually vent to are a therapist or a person who cares about you deeply enough to put up with it. So doing it like just out into the ether does nothing but reaffirm your negative feelings by reminding you that nobody cares, which in fairness, they don't know you. They don't know you. If they pretend to care, it's hollow. They don't know you. You have to know people for them to like really care about your problems, you know? They can care in a kind of like abstract, nobody deserves to suffer sort of way, but in terms of like an actual interpersonal desire to see you through it, that you have to cultivate a relationship to do that. You have to like be friends with somebody. Vaush is approaching Andrew Tate levels of insulting his audience. Lol, you have no IRL friends. I hope people in my audience don't bristle when I say stuff like that. I think it's pretty obvious from the way that I'm talking that I'm mostly just referring to trends and that I'm being like sympathetic towards issues. I don't, my intention here is not genuinely to insult the audience, you know? I mean, I constantly joke about how I don't like leave the house or whatever, which is largely true. I don't. Which great use of my fashion, by the way. But, you know, like the intention is to address trends more so than anything, but I'm not going to like mollycoddle my audience or whatever. Like, I'm not going to pretend that this isn't, you know, a bunch of like autistic, you know, like internet brain poison. Like, I know you are. Don't lie to yourself. I know you. I know what you are. I see you. No, Threadbare. I don't like talking to people who don't approach me directly. That's another thing people email me about that really bugs me. People will say, hey, do you want to debate my friend? No. Do you want to debate my dad? No. Do you want to debate my coworker? No. If they wanted to debate me, they could email me so I could say no to them directly. And man, the number of debates where it's like a person says, I disagree with you on X, and then you bring them on and they're like, you think X. And I'm like, no, I think like this different version of X. And then they're like, oh, okay. Well, and then there's not even like a debate to be had. Oh man, debates are oh God. Debates are such a mixed bag, dude. People remember the like 1 in 10 that are really stellar, but for the most part, holy shit. Aren't there streamers who have friends and enjoy their audience's suicide posts and try to secretly egg them on? You mean like sociopaths? I'm sure there are streamers like that. Researchers have found that 1 in every 2 streamers is a sociopath. I don't do that, though. Got rid of the vent channel. Well, Illa Divine, it's just a numbers game, you know? You get enough of anything and it becomes too much, you know? Enough water. If you make right-wing arguments for events and issues for actual right-wingers, you can debate yourself. No, self-debate. So debating yourself or doing like devil's advocate debates are incredibly boring. Super, super boring. Because the problem is that falsely assumes that debates are about arguments. They're not. Debates are about hurting the other people's feelings in a way that entertains their audience to the point that they like you. Being factually correct is like the incidental, it's like the important upkeep. Being factually correct in a debate is like making sure your shoelaces are tied. You know, it's you really ought to do it. It's very important that you do it, but it's not what most people look at first, you know? Being entertaining and performative, like it's all WWE superstar shit. It's a bad way of getting information out. It's a good way of remembering like digs. There is some rhetorical value to it, but all that rhetorical value is lost if you're if you're doing like you know, like devil's advocate shit. If you're going to do devil's advocate, you might as well make video essays. Honestly, we've been doing a lot of like news coverage lately, and I feel like I've gotten pretty good at it. I feel like I used to do news coverage in a very boring, rote, kind of disinterested, I need to cover this because it's important way. And now it feels pretty ordinary. And I feel like I've gotten pretty good at doing it in an entertaining way. I like the research stream too. The research stream was great. That was a lot of fun. I think the next one we want to do that on for sure will be Venezuela. I want to know more about like the Venezuelan economic collapse because I actually don't know that much about it. I want to know like what specific, you know, what policies led to, you know, that kind of thing.